Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and this video is meant to be a submission for a contest being held over on YouTube channel Fistful of Movies, where the prizes are plenty as far as I'm concerned. Pretty cool, a stack full of horror movies, or perchance one of two action figure collectibles. And I'm highly interested in the prizes for this, but I have to admit, what really attracted me to partaking in this contest was one of the criteria, which would be to discuss a movie that legitimately terrified you in your life, whether as a kid or as an adult or whatever. And I have two that have been the standout movies as far as that have ever scared me in my life. Now, the first movie I'll be discussing briefly is the Alfred Hitchcock classic Psycho. This is definitely a psychological thriller, but the first time I ever watched this movie, I was actually visiting my grandparents' farm in another state. I would basically visit them over the summertime, and so they had a very sort of rural, surrounded, woodland-surrounded farmhouse. And I watched this with a friend of mine at the time in the basement of their farm, bearing in mind that there is all manner of animals and hillbillies and stuff like that that live around this area. That was disconcerting enough, but then you pop in Psycho and you watch it for the very first time in the dark, in the basement, with windows that people could sneak up to and, observe you in the house. I mean, that's the kind of thing that's going through our heads. And it's a psychological thriller. It's a mystery. You have this point about a little more than three-quarters of the way into the film. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't actually seen the film, but there's a reveal that comes when the sister of the main woman in the film has gone missing through strange means, and she believes she's been murdered and killed by Norman Bates, who is the arguable antagonist of the film. And she goes down to the fruit cellar of Norman Bates' house and encounters for the very first time Norman Bates' mother. There is a reveal that happens in that sequence that terrified me to my mortal soul as a kid watching this in the surrounding I was in, and I nearly wet myself. I had a nightmare that night. I immediately stopped the movie, went to bed, had a nightmare, got up the next day, and then watched the last, I guess it was 5-10 minutes of the movie, and I was like, that was it? I mean, that's all that was left? It just made a humongous impact on me. Scared the bejesus out of me, put it that way. And I have been compelled by the history of Norman Bates ever since. I mean, a lot of people say, they're never going to be as good as the Alfred Hitchcock movies, but I do love the entire Psycho franchise. Anthony Perkins is what, attracts me to the idea of Norman Bates and investigating what made him the way he was and all of that stuff is what unfolds in the movies. Now, the other movie I want to discuss is one that is a visceral and primal, fear-laden, classic. George A. Romero's original Night of the Living Dead. This movie, it just spoke to that primal essence, that age-old sort of primal fear that we all have embedded within us, going all the way back to early man. Think of early, caveman-esque Neanderthals and stuff like that were afraid of jungle cats jumping out of the bushes. That kind of fear, or a spider crawling down a cave wall. It's dealing with these zombies who are these very, unnatural and very instinctual machines. They just, live to survive, and their instinctual way of survival is by causing bodily harm and destruction to other innocent beings, and then perchance turning them into fellow zombies and stuff like that. The black and white nature of the film, the slow and very just dramatic, plain stated, showing these zombies just slowly making their approaches on the house that the movie centers around, and also the investigation into the human condition, the psychological component of people who will band together and help each other and other people who would rather, go off on their own. It's all embodied and encapsulated in this film, and it terrified me as a child. I can't go out at night, honestly, even being 34 years old, almost 35, I can't go out at night without looking over my shoulder because of this movie. It stuck with me that long. And so, yeah, those are my two movies that I have been very terrified by. I could have some honorable mentions, like The Gate was a movie that scared me in my teens because it had a zombie in it, reminded me of Night of the Living Dead. And also House on Haunted Hill, the original classic with Vincent Price, was just bonkers. But yeah, so basically that is my submission. Good luck to everyone else who entered, and thank you, Fistful of Movies, for taking the opportunity, giving us all the opportunity to enter for a great bunch of prizes. And yeah, so that'll be it for me. Hope you're all doing well. I'll catch you later. Peace.